clear. If you guys are in print on demand right now, you know it's dominated by two players, Printful, Printify. And in case you missed it, these two joined forces recently. That's right. Printful and Printify operate fundamentally different businesses. Printful owns its fulfillment centers, so when you actually place an order with them, they're the ones who are actually doing the printing, packaging, and shipping. So the difference is with Printify, they work with a network of independent print providers, so you can choose who actually fulfills your orders based on the price, locations, reviews, everything. But the thing is, regardless of who you actually go with to like print your order when you're ordering a t-shirt for full color graphics, for example, there's like 100% chance that that's going to be printed using a DTG, what's known as direct to garment. And DTG, it's not bad. It's actually great for one-offs, full color prints. That's what it was made for, but it definitely has its downsides and you can't ignore them. Now, like I said, if you guys are familiar with Printful and Printify, you saw that they are merging together and joining forces. So what was two different competing companies is now going to become one company. So they are going to, what they say is operate as two separate companies, or two separate entities they say, but they're all going to be under one umbrella company. So what that kind of means to all of us as consumers is they're not going to be competing with each other on price, speed, turnaround time, the actual customer service that they're providing. All of these things, they kind of don't have to compete with each other anymore, right? They're all under the same umbrella company. So you see what I mean? In that kind of situation, what was already like a not great industry, which was print on demand and like the state of it to begin with, the two biggest players who were at least trying to compete with each other have now stopped competing and joined forces. So, I mean, how or why regulators let this deal go by, I don't know, that's beyond me, but I think that it's pretty fair to say what we see from this over the long term is that the company probably is going to be the one who benefits the most, the shareholders, and it's going to be people like us, the actual consumers, the small business owners, maybe even the actual end consumers of these products, these t-shirts that we're selling, those are going to be the ones who are stuck paying the price. But I mean, with this and the limitations of DTG, that's kind of left a lot of people wondering, is there anything that they can do other than work with some of these behemoths? I mean, well, it just so happens that around like the 2020, 2021 era, there was this revolution taking place in the printing industry. There was this darling called DTF, or what's known as direct to film, that had been coming onto the scene and making waves. DTF has honestly completely changed the game. So what used to be done as something on a DTG printer has almost entirely moved to being done DTF. And I think jumping back to some of those earlier downsides that I was saying you can't ignore, one of the big ones with DTG is going to be the need for pre-treat. So especially with dark garments, that pre-treat often leaves a visible box like around the design. So it's especially noticeable on those black tees. I have seen it myself. The other thing about DTG is the equipment is extremely expensive to run them. So even to get like a beginner setup, something that you might be able to run in a small business, that's gonna cost you upwards of like $30,000 for some of like the Brother GTX series. But the equipment that like Printful, Printify, the ones that the actual big boys are running, those are probably going to be those Cornet machines. So those Cornet DTGs, those are like 250,000 each. So DTG is certainly not cheap, and especially when you can get started with DTF, like a setup like this, one of these whole printers is going to cost you like $10,000 from China, and that is going to be a lot better of a picture, a lot better cost comparison to something like those $250,000 DTG machines. And the thing about those DTG machines, yeah, some of them are going to have like a 2x2 setup, so you can have one shirt being printed while the other shirt is being loaded. Or I've even seen some where it does like double passes, so you load up two shirts and then it'll print two shirts at the same time doing kind of one pass. So there is certainly ways to do it, but DTG is at the end of the day going to be slow and costly. So it's going to be good for those like small complex jobs. But the other thing where I think DTG really falls short of something like DTF is the placement. So the placement where the machine can actually print on the t-shirt is going to be limited to the platens that are available for that machine. And then it's also going to be available if like Printful and Printify are actually offering that platen in their shop and they allow you to get that decoration printed on that t-shirt. So what is the alternative? Well, like I was saying, 2020, 2021, that revolution quietly began in the custom decorated apparel space. And like its name, DTF Direct to Film, DTF has quickly become the go-to for thousands of different print shops, print-on-demand brands, because it solves some of the biggest problems that DTG faces. Number one being there is no pre-treat needed. You literally just press it and go. Number two, the lower startup costs. Like I've been saying, $10,000 compared to $250, which is better. And that's not even saying that you need to buy one of these printers here. You could honestly just get started with DTF, a heat press, an outlet, you're good to go. With DTF, you can get some incredible detail and colors. I mean, the color range on DTF it's exceptional that you can get the amount of gradients and smooth transitions between colors with just the CMYK. And obviously you are gonna be a little limited when it comes to all of the colors that you can reproduce. CMYK is a color space, right? So you can only make every color that is possible with that certain 4 variations. But at the end of the day, most of the DTG printers are also going to be operating on CMYK. And the DTF prints are going to be a lot more vibrant when you actually press them on the T versus when you print them on the T with DTG. And then also, you can't forget the versatility. Like I've been saying, you can apply it with different places. You don't need any special platens. The other thing is the versatility in the fabric and the material choice. So you can apply DTF to cotton, polyester, nylon, blends, leather, foam, trucker hats, bags, canvas. I mean, you name it. You don't need any special platens. And since it's a transfer, you just can apply the design wherever. Sleeves, hoods, pockets, pant logos, the inside of pants, wherever. But obviously do be careful because DTF can also leave that heat press mark if you scorch the fabric. So just be mindful of the temperature, the pressure, and the time settings that you're using when pressing DTF. But if you are sitting there wondering if it's so great, why haven't the big print-on-demand companies just ditched their machines and switched over to DTF? Now, I am not the CEO of Printful. I'm not the CEO of the holding company, the umbrella company, whatever they're calling it, but what I would wager is they simply can't. They are too deep into DTG right now. I mean, it's likely that Printful and Printify, the network that Printify operates, has sunk like tens of $millions into these Cornet machines. And I mean, let's face it, there's a decent chance that this is on loan. So there's probably some banks involved. Again, this is all speculation. I know absolutely nothing about the actual inner workings of these two companies. But if operating a business, we all know that like having this money on hand is not the easiest thing. And being able to afford these machines, while yes, they are investments in your business, switching would mean kind of writing those investments off. And not only that, but then you have to retrain all of your staff across all of your facilities. And I think for just those reasons alone, it's not happening really anytime soon with Printful and Printify. I think they're just too heavily invested in DTG. Now, maybe you don't want to sell DTF transfers. Maybe you just want to sell shirts with beautiful, vibrant DTF prints on them. Well, in that case, you've got 2 options. You can outsource it, use a provider like AMS Transfers Plus, where you can get DTF printed garments on demand. Or the other option is you could do it yourself. So you could order transfers from a supplier like amstransfers.com, buy some blanks, and then press them on yourself. And guys, pressing DTF, it's simple. All you need is a heat press. And if you're starting on a budget, even like a Cricut Easy Press or a household iron, it can work, though we do say the results may vary. If you are looking for a beginner heat press, we have some recommendations and a full guide linked down below in the description. But with this setup, like you can do it yourself. You can run a whole t-shirt business completely from your garage, spare bedroom, closet. And you could press like up to 150 tees a day, just one person making tees in your spare bedroom. But okay, that's great. What about the durability? Because customers notice when the print cracks, fades, and does DTF hold up very well? So when pressed properly, it can withstand 40, 50 washes without any noticeable degradation, and it's not going to crack, it's not going to peel like vinyl or even some like DTG prints. So it's going to stay vibrant and flexible even after multiple washes. We actually just dropped a full breakdown on DTF for premium apparel brands. I'll link it down below in the description, right below the subscribe button. But the short and the long of it is DTF is perfect for t-shirts priced between like $15 and $30. Higher price points, you're gonna have to have a pretty good design or a good story to justify that price to your customer. So make sure that you take that into consideration. So remember, DTG, they need those specialized patents to print on like unique places, whereas DTF doesn't. So with DTF, you can press anywhere. I'm talking like side prints or like lower back prints, sleeve designs, chest pockets. If you can fit it on a heat press, you can print it, and that flexibility allows small brands and business owners to offer those cooler and more unique placements than some of the premium options who might be using someone like a print-on-demand provider that they can actually offer. You then would be more competitive than them because you're using something like DTF and you're allowed that flexibility. Now, all right, let's talk money, because this is where DTF really shines. Now, let's say you want to sell a black soft style with a 4x4 left chest print. Here's what it would cost from each person. So Printful, $925. Printify, $961. And this is from the lowest cost provider in May 2025 when I was filming this video. If you order that same tee from AMS Transfers Plus, $6.36. And then if you were to make that t-shirt yourself, so you pay $3.50 for the t-shirt or less, you should be able to get a Gildan soft style black for less than $3.50. For that 4x4 DTF transfer, you pay 60 cents if you order it from amstransfers.com. And then let's consider the labor here, because let's be fair. Say you're making like 50 bucks an hour. So from what we were saying earlier, we said that you could crank out like 150 shirts a day. So let's just be fair. Let's assume 40 shirts per hour. That means that you could crank out one t-shirt per 1.5 minutes. So all right, everybody following me here? So one shirt, 1.5 minutes, 40 shirts per hour. That means that in labor costs of making the t-shirts yourself, that's gonna be $2. So we have our t-shirt, $3.50, our DTF transfer, 60 cents, and our labor at $2. That's gonna bring the total down to the lowest that we have seen out of all of them, $6.10. All in, printed, done, a t-shirt. So yes, doing it yourself is definitely going to be the cheapest, and it's also hands-on. It's scalable too, and it builds a stronger connection with you and your product. But all right, who wants just a 4x4, right? Let's say you want to add a back print, something like a 12x16 graphic. Okay, for that, Printful is going to charge you $15.20 now total. So $15.20 for the 4x4 and the back print and the t-shirt. Printify, seemingly suspiciously, also going to charge you $15.20, the same thing. But the one thing to note on Printify, for some reason the actual like max area that you can get printed on the back is slightly smaller. It's only 12.5 by 14. So I did want to note that. I think Printful was also 12.5, but they were by 15. So you get a little bit larger on Printful, but that's kind of small on Printify. So I wanted to make sure that you guys note that. It's not going to be great for those oversized prints. So Printful and Printify, $15.20 for the 4x4 and the back print. AMS Transfers Plus for the 4x4 and a 14x16 back print is coming in at $14.36. And guys, this is on the free starter plan. If you guys are like at the point where your volume is worth it, those higher plans drop that as low as $8.86. That's right, I'm not kidding around. As low as $8.86 per shirt. And that's with a $600 monthly fee. Let me just go ahead and throw that out right now. I'm not trying to pull the wool over anybody's eyes. You gotta pay $600 a month. So it's not gonna be great unless you are at the point where you're doing numbers. But if you are doing numbers, something like that might be something you wanna consider. But if you wanna do it yourself, let's run through the numbers again. The back transfer, getting that from a DTF provider is gonna be probably about $8. 60 cents for the front still, and then let's just double the labor to be safe. So that's gonna bring our total to $12.60 per shirt. And again, you control the quality, the speed, the placement, everything. Everything is in your hands if you do it yourself, and that allows you to be more competitive, to be more agile, and to have a product that is cheaper, even if you do include the labor, paying yourself $50 an hour. So it's pretty clear. It's looking really good. If you can make t-shirts yourself using DTF, if you have a heat press, it's a pretty good solution so far. But something that's often overlooked that really matters is going to be shipping. So for shipping, everything with Printful, Printify, and AMS Transfers Plus is done for you. So that is something that you have to consider. But with everything Printful, they're gonna charge you $4.69 per shirt. That's gonna be with a 5 to 7 day delivery time. And then Printify, I found like $5.19 to be the average. And if you are doing it yourself, you can order through, you can order your actual shipping labels through Pirate Ship, pay $3.98 for USPS Ground Advantage, and then you're getting your packages to your customers in like 4 to 5 days. So you're saving money, but then you have to consider the labor, right? So this one's a little bit more tricky. I would say in all, I think you could say the labor for packaging a shirt is like $1.50 per shirt. So total, all in all, if you do DIY your own shipping and you're doing like the whole DIY making your own t-shirts, about like $5.48. So it's gonna be more expensive than Printful and Printify, and you gotta do a little bit of work, but you're paying yourself, so you gotta consider everything with that. And then with AMS Transfers Plus, you're charged at cost. So $3.99, and it's the same USPS Ground Advantage, all handled for you, same like Printful and Printify. But if you do wanna pack your own orders, you definitely can. Remember, USPS does have those free pickups. So for me though, those are kind of hit or miss. In our early days, they were really unreliable, and yeah, your mileage may vary. All right, so let's just sum it up. If you're serious about launching a print-on-demand apparel business in 2025, DTF is it's not worth just considering. It may be your best move. It's more cost effective, it's scalable, it's versatile, and it really does open up a lot of different creative avenues and opportunities that something like DTG just simply can't match. So whether you're a beginner looking to kind of dip your toes in, you're a side hustler who's looking to scale your next big brand, or you're an established brand and you're tired of outsourcing, you're tired of the garbage quality, the customer service problems, DTF can give you a competitive edge. You can start pressing at home, you can start pressing in your garage, in your shop, whatever it is, with just a heat press and buying some transfers, amstransfers.com. You can even take things a step further and completely outsource everything through a provider like AMS Transfers Plus, or if you do want to do it all, you can go all in. When you are at that point and your volume justifies it, you can get a setup like this and bring the printer in-house. All of these things that I have mentioned are going to be significantly lower barriers to entry than working with someone like Printful, Printify, and doing something where you are handcuffed with DTG. The margins are going to be better, and the opportunity, it's going to be wide open. So if you guys are interested in starting to learn more, or you need help kind of choosing the right setup, subscribe, drop a comment down below, and check the links. But for now, this is going to be it for this video. My name is Alex from amstransfers.com. I'll see you in the next one.
In a world full of visions, dreams on the run, we needed a spark, now look what we've done. Just type it, describe it, watch it unfold.